Hello everyone, I'm Gloria. Today my topic is about Malcolm Fraser and his promotion of Asian migration in the 1970s. This is my content. And I think everyone knows that there's a lot of Asian in Australia, and it is promote the economics of Australia and also the multiculturalism. And what's the contribution of this to Australia? It is Malcolm Fraser's. He made the immigrants policy. And what's more important is that he started Australia's multiculturalism process. And then let's talk about the background. In this picture, you can see he is Malcolm Fraser, and his Australian identity is a former Prime Minister of Australia. In the left hand, there is the timeline from 1888 to 1975. In 1888, it is the Barton's government, and he's restricting the immigration of Asia. That led to the White Australia policies in 1901. And in 1975 is Fraser's government. The Fraser's government successfully understood the significant implications of cultural diversity and the necessity of promoting tolerance, mutual understanding and justice in Australian society. And this is the primary source I found in this website. The content is the Vietnamese refugees aboard a plane for Australia in 1979. This tag of the source is a primary source as a photograph. And this source is primary source as it was taken in 1979 after Mr. Fraser came to power in 1975. And I have four parts of this primary source. Firstly is the perspective, because we don't know who took this picture, so we must have the perspective. The person who took this picture could be a family member of a Vietnamese refugees, or a journalist, or a supporter of Malcolm Fraser's policies, or some people didn't support Malcolm Fraser's policies. And the limitation is that all of the Asians looks like the same. So the people in this photo may be from Chinese, Malaysia, or Singapore, but these are just a conjecture. If we just look at in this photograph, we can see that the Vietnamese is full of smile on their face, and that's suggesting that Vietnamese are trusted Australia policy and respect for Australian Army. And from the photos, it can be seen that most of the Vietnamese refugees are flying to Australia with their families, which shows the most Vietnamese refugees may settle or seek work in Australia, which also implies that Australia will enter multi-ethnic diversity country under Fraser's policy, so this primary source is useful for Australia. There's many contributions of Malcolm Fraser to the promotion of Asia immigration, but it has an argument. In the view of urban development, the large number of Asian immigrants has played an indelible historical role in promoting metropolitan economy. Since the 1970s, after the Australia government abolished the policy of White Australia and implemented the multiculturalism policy. And next is the most obvious impact of the Fraser's achievement is lessening racism. Also, racism still exists in the current policy, more or less. And what's more, in recent decades, Asian population became a serious social issue that the Australian government has paid much attention to. With implementing open multicultural policy, more young Asian immigrants are allowed to enter the countries and they can join in the driving force in the economic development. Australia has a vast territory with a less population and a large amount of land in its Midwest has yet not to be further developed, which causes a need for a lot of labor. Only observing a large number of immigrants can accelerate its national economy and bridging development disparity. And this is an example of the contribution of the Malcolm Frasers. The number of Chinese immigrants is currently one of the largest ethnic minorities in Australia, accounting for nearly 2.9% of the total population. Most Asian migrants live in the East Coast, such as Sydney and Melbourne. However, the immigration policy made by the Fraser's government was not completely approved by everyone. The explosion of Asian immigrants and their tremendous successes has caused dissatisfaction among ethnically based people in Australia. They worry that Australia will eventually become a territory for Asian. There is a forequote. Some native white Australians argue that because of the large amount of Australian labor had entered the country, it becomes harder for them to find a decent job, and some of them even being laid off. And the native employees also fear that the uncontrollable immigration trends will significantly reduce compensation and welfare. This is my reference list. The last three is I searched by myself, and the others is from the Study Smart. Thanks for your listening.